Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 13th of May, 2022. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So a much calmer day over the last kind of like 24 hours or so. There was still a bit more stuff about the kind of like Terra debacle that I did want to get through. But yeah, just mostly a lot calmer. I mean, Luna went to basically zero. UST is basically at zero. Exchanges started delisting the assets. So it's pretty much over at this point. And we've had a bit of a recovery in the wider crypto markets with ETH hovering around $2,100. Look, don't know if it's going to stay there. Don't know if it's going to go back to the lows or anything like that. But yeah, today has been a less crazy day and just like a more positive day for crypto in general, which is crazy to say that, right? I was thinking about the speed of what happened before. That's what's, I think, really kind of like surprised me the most, is that within 3 or 4 days, an entire ecosystem has been wiped out, tens of billions of dollars of wealth has been destroyed, and it feels like we're already moving on from it, right? Like, and it's just crazy. Like, this industry moves so quickly, and it's, oh God, I feel like I need a holiday after this, guys. Like I said in the Discord channel today, I feel like I'm 70 years old. Like mentally, I'm just like fried at the moment. I'm glad it's the weekend coming up. I'm going to try and relax a bit. But yeah, it's just been an absolutely crazy last few days. But just before I kind of like finish up on the Terra stuff, I guess I did want to get through a couple of other things that came out today. One of the most interesting things was this kind of like tweet from Cyrus, who's been in the Ethereum community for quite a while. He's been around for quite a while. He used to work at Maker, so he knows a thing or two about stablecoins. But he put out this tweet with a screenshot, and the tweet reads: "Over 4 years ago, I was a research analyst at Scalar Capital. The Terra Luna deal came across our desk, and I was assigned to it because I was the DeFi guy. Here's what I had to say about the project. How did we allow it to end up like this?" So here's a screenshot of Cyrus talking about Terra. Basically, I would say this was the seed round for Terra, the whole project back in April of 2018, guys, over 4 years ago. So this is exactly what Cyrus said to Linda Shea, who is one of the founders of Scalar Capital. So he says, "Okay, so unless I'm missing something, this project isn't going to work. Terra is like the Maker model. If the only collateral you could post to create DAI is the MKR token itself. I'm pretty sure posting MKR as collateral to generate DAI is a terrible idea. I'm not a monetary expert, but it seems to me that Terra suffers from the death spiral. So in this example, Terra is the stablecoin and Luna is the collateral. If Terra were to fall and break the peg, then it would depend on Luna to save Terra. But Luna would fall as investors would panic, and then Terra would continue to fall, and then they would just each keep contributing to each other's demise. This is exactly what happened to Nubits like 3 years ago. I'm kind of surprised this idea is being tried again when it's so trivially broken. That being said, if I'm missing something and you want me to dig in deeper, I'll be happy to do a call with these guys and get some more info." End quote there. So this is amazing that he called it so early. Like, props to him on this. I think this is one of the most amazing things. And he called it exactly as it would play out, right? Where he basically said that Terra, in this instance being the UST stablecoin, and Luna would feed off each other, leading to a death spiral. And that's exactly what we saw. So it's funny because someone else made a comment. David Hoffman made a comment as a reply to the tweet, say, "Hey, what a loser. You missed out on billions," right? Because obviously the Terra project did, quote unquote, succeed for a while and went to a massive market cap. And then Cyrus replied by saying, "This is true. I've actually suffered from some copium over the years because of Terra's quote unquote success. I'm not happy about how it turned out, but I am pleased to be vindicated." And that's just like the perfect way to put it, right? All the people that were calling for its demise, seeing it grow, were probably coping over it, being like, what the hell? Like, how is this thing getting so big? How isn't it blown up yet? Blah, blah, blah. And now that it's completely blown up, obviously they feel for the people who have lost money, but they're kind of like very vindicated on that. So there's definitely that there. But yeah, I just wanted to point this out because I thought it was amazing. Like, this is great. Like, the fact that he was able to call it so early is a testament to his knowledge and to basically learning from the past. Because as you mentioned here, there was another project called Nubits that was around earlier on in like 2015 that attempted this. Like, this Terra at UST is not the first algo stablecoin. It probably won't be the last. And we've seen this time and time again. They're very popular because during bull markets, they can work pretty well. They're very reflexive. They make people a lot of money very quickly. But in a bear market or when the markets get tough, we see what plays out, right? So there's that aspect to it there. And then, as I said, like Cyrus used to work at Maker, I put a tweet out where I said, I'm so happy for the Maker people. They are fully vindicated after such a long time of dealing with the lunatics. I'm sure they're now even more confident in the design of Maker and DAI, and so can continue unabated building the best decentralized stablecoin in crypto. Look, DAI has its issues, guys. Like, it's backed partially by USDC, which is obviously a centralized stablecoin, and if that USDC was to be frozen, then DAI would be partially, uncollateralized, right? And it's got some other issues with it too. Obviously, the MKR token isn't very valuable either. I don't know whether that's a big issue or anything. And it's also a stablecoin, which means it's going to be facing the same regulations, if not maybe harsher regulations, because it's trying to be a decentralized stablecoin, all that sorts of stuff there. But the thing is that the Maker people now get to kind of like, I think to themselves, wow, we were right about calling out this thing. We're on the right path. Let's continue on this path. And that's exactly what they're going to do. So I'm very, very happy about that. And I'm very, very happy that the kind of like Maker people have indicated here on that front. Last thing with the Terra stuff is just this kind of like tweet from Chris K that I came across just before, where he says, in 2020 we had billionaire number 1 CZ called us all poor and said his chain would flip ETH. In 2021 we had billionaire number 2 Charles Hoskinson created a cult and told them his chain will flip ETH, obviously being Cardano. And in 2022 we have billionaire number 3 Do Kwon called us all poor and said his stablecoin and chain will flip ETH. And then Kris says, stop idolizing these fucks. I mean, I totally agree with Kris on this. Like, stop idolizing these people. I talk about this all the time with you guys. Like, don't trust these billionaires. Don't trust these people. Like, and don't even trust like the fund managers or anything like that, like VCs. Just because people have money doesn't mean they're intelligent. And also, even if they are intelligent, doesn't mean they have your best interest at heart. I mean, most of the time they don't. I mean, actually, all the time they don't, because their best interest is making a return on their investment, and that is in direct odds with a lot of a lot of people in the ecosystem, because they could be betting against you, right? So I just thought that was like just an interesting way to put it. We've had so many Ethereum killers come at Ethereum over the years, telling us that we're bad and we're shit, our design's bad, complaining about all of the design flaws, everything like that, saying that layer 2s are a scam, they're not going to work, blah, 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 right? Ethereum's still here, Ethereum is still chugging along, and it's going to continue chugging along, and we're going to continue executing on the Ethereum roadmap for years to come. As I mentioned yesterday, I think all of this has been a massive boon for Ethereum over the last few days. It's shown that Ethereum's design and kind of like the way Ethereum works is kind of like great for security and stability, and there's not a world where Ethereum could do what Luna did, because ETH isn't used to back a algo stablecoin at layer 1, right? Like, it's actually insane to me that they did that, because they basically destroyed their chain security as well. So not only did they destroy their entire ecosystem and the value of the token, but by destroying the value of the token, they destroyed the chain security, and the chain actually had to be halted, and then they had to kind of like do some changes, and they kind of like halted it, I think, twice over the last 24 hours. They restarted it again. It just became a shit show. Could you imagine that happening to Ethereum? Like, Ethereum is so much bigger than Terra, right? Like, in terms of kind of like the impact it would have across the ecosystem, that would just be crazy. So this is why Ethereum prioritizes security and decentralization, guys. Like, I told you guys time and time again, no one cares about decentralization and security until they need it. And look at what happened with Terra. Most of the people in that ecosystem would have probably not cared at all about decentralization and security, because everything seemed like it was going well. They were making money. The Luna token was going up, blah, blah, blah. Now, I bet every single one of those people probably looks at this and being like, wow, I wish that there was kind of like protections in place. I wish that it was, more decentralized and more secure. All these sorts of stuff going on. So I am personally like more convicted on Ethereum than I have ever been, because all of kind of like the things, all my theses from like that I've had for a while over the last few days have just been further vindicated. And I feel like Ethereum is on the most correct path that we can be on within crypto. Obviously, Ethereum has its issues. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do, but I feel like we're on the right path. We have a roadmap to execute. There are hundreds, thousands of people working on kind of like the core layer and the layer 2 layer to scale Ethereum. We're going to get there, honestly. Like, unironically, I think we're all going to make it in Ethereum, right? And ignore the kind of like market noise, ignore this other bullshit, and just focus on the fundamentals, focus on all the exciting stuff happening. Keep watching the refuel, just a little plug there, of course, and I think you'll be all right. But yeah, I think that's it on the Terra stuff. Maybe there'll be some new stuff over the weekend to go over on Monday, but yeah, it's calmed down a lot, definitely. But anyway, on to some more exciting news. We had a mainnet shadow fork over the last 24 hours. It was mainnet shadow fork number 4. It went perfectly. So all clients went through the transition without a hitch. The only client that was missing was Aragon, which had unrelated sync issues, and it had nothing to do with kind of like the shadow fork. So basically, this was the perfect shadow fork, from what I can see. I don't think there were any other kind of like issues or anything like that. Everything went through as it should, which is obviously awesome, guys. Like I told you, like we're gonna have a few more of these shadow forks, then we're gonna move on to forking the public test nets, and then obviously we're going to get a kind of like date for mainnet. Now, because the shadow fork went through perfectly, because it seems like the other ones will go through perfectly as well, since this one did, and the test nets will be forked soon, I still feel August is a pretty good chance of the merge going through, like personally, right? As I said to you guys, July was a coin toss. Look, we're pretty, I mean, we're in May right now. I don't think July's happening just because of how close we're already to that. But I think that August is a very, very kind of like good chance. Like, more than a 50% chance at this point. So very, very excited for that, and very excited to see that the fourth mainnet shadow fork went off without a hitch. Obviously, very, very big news. And Marius had a tweet about this as well. Kind of like a similar thing where he just basically said, you know, we finalized and just kept chugging. And Parithosh here did a mainnet like split of nodes. Next test is equal splits as well. So just different ways to test it. They're really thoroughly testing this thing, guys, because obviously, you know, the merge not working is probably going to be our Luna blowing up moment if it was to happen. So we obviously don't want it to happen. But I mean, I don't think there's really any high chance of that happening. I feel like the testing has been amazing. They've been testing, over-testing it, making sure they're ironing out like every single bug possible that could go wrong with this sort of thing. We got client diversity under control as well, which is obviously something that people wanted to see be kind of like improved upon before the merge went through. I don't know. I'm super excited, guys. Everything's happening. Everything's going really well here. And speaking of client diversity, actually, before I jump into client diversity, there is this another thread on the stETH depeg that's going on currently. Highly recommend giving this one a read. I went over this yesterday. Hasufl put a thread out about this too, but this is great because it goes over kind of like one of the reasons why this depeg is happening, or at least the main reason, and it's because of the leverage going on in the system here. I'm not going to explain it here for you guys. You can read the tweet thread. It does a better job than me at explaining it, but just wanted to highlight this again for you guys. Anyway, now, speaking of client diversity, Michael Sproul has released his latest metrics on what the client diversity looks like on the Beacon chain. So you can see here that there is a low estimate and a high estimate. Obviously, these are not exact figures. There will always be estimates, but right now, Prism is sitting on the high estimate side at 56%. Guys, I cannot stress to you how amazing this is, right? We dropped this, like, I mean, obviously we want to get that under 50%, kind of like on the high estimate side of things, but we dropped this from the supermajority to kind of like the high estimate being 56% in such a short period of time. This is just like a testament to how amazing the Ethereum community is. Lighthouse is at 26%, Teku at 17%, Nimbus at 10%, and Lodestar, unfortunately, is pretty much at 0%. But, I mean, it's looking a lot better, guys. Like, looking much, much better. I think it's going to keep improving over time, to be honest. I think that now that more people are aware of the fact that we need this client diversity for a bunch of different reasons, you know, obviously for decentralization and security reasons and all that good stuff there, it's going to keep improving over time, but we need to remain vigilant. Let's not kind of like rest on our laurels. Let's make sure that we keep pushing for this. We keep an eye on this sort of stuff. We have all this monitoring in place, and we make sure to kind of like set that culture within Ethereum that to run the non-majority client, the non-supermajority client, I should say. And it could, you know, it could end up being Lighthouse gets to the majority one day. It's not, I'm not just trying to obviously pick on Prism here. It's just because they were the supermajority and kind of like they still are a majority client here. So using the other ones obviously is a good deal here. But yeah, thanks to Michael for putting these stats out. Obviously, as I said, these are estimates, but you know, they're the best we're probably going to get here. So very, very cool to see this. And again, on client diversity here, John's Gresham is who I've mentioned before about working on kind of like the NiceNode application for running Ethereum nodes, has put out an update today with a screenshot of what they're working towards within the next release for client diversity. So you can see here that they've got client diversity both on the execution and consensus layer side, and they've also got Ethereum layer 2s that they're going to be adding this into. So you can run nodes for that as well when those are available. Now, speaking of the execution layer in terms of client diversity, this obviously needs to improve. Geth is, I think, 84% of the network still. We definitely want this to improve. We want people to be running Nethermind, Aragon, or Besu instead of Geth. if you're running geth right now, please consider switching. You can do your part here. I think that it's going to be a bit harder on the execution layer side to kind of like change because of the fact that right now there's not any monetary incentive to do so, but post merge there will be. So maybe we're gonna kind of like get better execution layer client diversity post merge. But still, now you can do your part now to do this if you are running a full geth node, and you could run both as well if you want. If you want to run geth, you can still run it, but like maybe consider running one of the other ones. But ideally, you would switch from geth to one of the others like Nethermind, Aragon, or Besu, which are great clients, guys. Like they're not. I don't know for sure if this is like totally accurate for me to say. They're great clients, but I don't know if they're as reliable as geth because they came after geth, and geth has kind of like been battle tested for a very long time now, and now has been around for a very long time. But I think they're reaching kind of like parity with geth at this point in terms of kind of like reliability and kind of like ease of use too. So definitely go check them out if you haven't yet. But great to see this update from John's here on the NiceNode app. All right, so speaking of, I guess, staking, Superphiz put out another great tweet today where he said, I'm moving closer to a request to all staking service providers and staking liquidity token providers to make a public commitment to limiting their influence over the beacon chain to 22%. The social layer is the first layer of defense on the network. So this basically means any of these service providers or liquid or kind of like liquid token or liquid staking providers to limit how much ETH they have staked on the beacon chain to 22% or less. Obviously, they don't have to listen to this. Like, it's a free beacon chain. They can do what they want. But as Superphiz says here, the social layer is the first layer of defense on kind of like the network here. Now, it's interesting that he says this because I think the funny thing about the social layer is that it is both the first and last layer of defense depending on the situation. So I think it's the first layer of defense if we're talking about kind of like being proactive here and basically ensuring that the beacon chain in this instance, in kind of like in this context, remains secure and decentralized. But it becomes the last layer of defense if something goes wrong. So in a reactive scenario, right? So when, say, there's a kind of like a critical bug on the beacon chain that splits consensus, while the social layer in that kind of scenario would have to come in and kind of like fix that, right? So that's like the last layer of defense. So depending on the context, it can be the first or last layer here. So now, this is cool that Superphiz is still pushing forward here. He's just relentless. Like, I love it. He was obviously the main champion behind client diversity, got that fixed, and he's not stopping. He's making sure that we keep the beacon chain as decentralized and secure as possible, and he's kind of like being the champion across all of that. So I'm really happy that we have someone like Superphiz in the community, guys. Like, these are the people that make Ethereum special to me, honestly. If I had to kind of like tell people the number one reason why I'm bullish on Ethereum, it's people like Superphiz. Because we have people who give a shit, who actually care beyond any monetary kind of like incentives. Superphiz isn't being paid to do any of this, right? Like, he is literally doing similar to what I'm doing, right, with the Daily Gwei, a free public service in order to kind of like keep the network, healthy and decentralized, keep Ethereum kind of like moving towards being, upholding its values and its ethos. And I don't know, I respect people so much that do this. Obviously, Superphiz isn't the only one. There's plenty of people in the ecosystem that do this, but he's been quite vocal lately on very important issues with regards to the beacon chain, client diversity, obviously, and staking diversity. Very, very cool to see that. But yeah, keep it up, Superphiz. Honestly, I know you're a kind of like loyal listener to the Refuel, so definitely keep it up, man. It's really, really inspiring, that's for sure. All right, so Ryan Wyatt, I hope I'm saying his surname right, from Polygon here today, has put together a kind of like a bunch of screenshots talking about Matic's or Polygon's 2022/2023 roadmap. So the first slide is about capitalization and team. So you'll remember that they recently raised $450 million in a round led by Sequoia Capital in February, which means they have capital to operate for many years here. So no kind of like concerns there around Polygon's kind of like solvency. And actually, before I jump into the rest of these updates, just want to disclose for people that may be new, I'm an advisor to Polygon. I'm pretty heavily involved kind of like with them for a while now. Just want to disclose that because I just like doing those sorts of things. But anyway, moving on to the rest of the updates. They have over 100 roles open right now around the world and continuing to grow. So they're not adjusting their headcount forecast based on the market conditions, so it remains the same. So if you're looking for a job, definitely go check out Polygon's open roles. They have an executive team from places like Amazon, Google, Unity, Facebook, Activision, and more. Very, very cool. Got a powerhouse going on there. Second slide here is about partnerships. So in Q2, Polygon announced partnerships with mega companies like Stripe, Twitter, Facebook, Tilting Point, and more, which obviously is awesome. They've got over 20,000 dApps on the POS chain today. They launched their Supernets alongside the POS chain with ZKs coming soon. 4.16 million transactions a day in Q2, and they're going to be deploying significant capital out of their $100 million ecosystem fund to help grow the next generation of Web3 apps. And then on the security side, they have audited and battle-tested protocols. They're investing heavily in security. They've ramped up their internal security team to 20 security engineers. That's pretty cool, and it's their chief priority. So very nice little update from Polygon here. Glad they put this out, guys. Like a lot of the teams that have existed for the last few years and played it prudent in terms of kind of like diversifying their treasuries in order to make sure that they have they have like a substantial amount of funds to weather any kind of like bear market or any kind of like bearish periods are going to do very well over the next few years. And these are the ones to pay attention to, that's for sure. So I'm not just saying that as an advisor to Polygon. Honestly, Polygon is playing, it all right. They have kind of like placed all the right bets. I think they're going to do very, very well over the next few years. And I'm very proud to be an advisor, honestly. Like where Polygon has come from. Obviously, they used to be known as Matic Network, but where they have come from in such a short period of time is super inspiring to me, and I obviously wish them the best success here. All right, so ZigZag Exchange has teased today, just a little teaser that there'll be kind of like an NFT swap live on ZK Sync's mainnet soon for their exchange here. So you can see a little teaser here, which is very cool. I've actually been using ZigZag Exchange a bit again recently because people are donating to me on Gitcoin grants. I think they're trying to farm airdrops, not airdrops from Daily Gwei, but like because Optimism rewarded Gitcoin donors with OP tokens, I think people are trying to farm airdrops, and people have sent me, a kind of like non-negligible sum. They're not just sending like 1 cent or whatever. I'm pretty sure over the last few weeks since OP was announced, I've gotten thousands of dollars in donations. So some of those will be legit donations, so thank you for that. But I mean, okay, thanks to the bots for giving me, or not bots, maybe just people farming airdrops for giving me more kind of like stable coins so I could go buy ETH with it. That was, I welcome that obviously, but I used ZigZag to do this because a lot of the donations came in on layer 2, so on ZK Sync, and I used ZigZag to swap those stable coins to ETH, and it worked so smoothly. Like seriously, guys, like no gas fees, just sign the transaction, all well and good, and then I kind of withdraw from ZigZag to Mainnet, and they have 2 withdrawal options, fast and slow. Look, I just choose the slow option because there's less fees on that. I don't need the ETH into my Sassal.eth account immediately or anything like that. Obviously, it's just going to stay there until I have enough to kind of like stack another validator. Of course, you guys know that whenever I'm stacking ETH, it's always to get to another 32 so I can spin up another validator. But anyway, enough on that front. Just wanted to kind of like say that they're teasing NFT swaps, which is very, very cool. Anything obviously to make kind of like NFT swapping easier and better at layer 2 is welcome in my book. All right, so final thing to talk about here, since I've got like a bunch of time left, is I wanted to just not do a bullish rant, but just kind of like do a bit of a refresher about why I am just like so calm, so excited, so kind of like bullish on kind of like ETH and Ethereum for the, over the next few months, even though the market kind of blew up, ETH went to 1700, whatever. Like I don't care about any of that sort of stuff, and this is why. So I put out a tweet today where I said, the merge is coming, layer 2s are growing, dank sharding is progressing, public goods are being funded, 2.3 million ETH has been burned so far, 12.5 million ETH is staked, and ETH is on sale. And then I said, unbothered, moisturized, happy, in my lane, focused, flourishing. That's a meme, by the way, guys. Like people who are making fun, they're like, moisturized, what the hell is that? If you actually just Google this kind of like part of the tweet, you'll see the meme. But anyway, enough about the meme. So to focus on the actual kind of like meat of the tweet here, obviously the merge is coming. I said I expect it to be in August personally. That's all well and good. I've talked about it ad nauseum at this point. I'm not going to keep going on about that. Layer 2s are growing. Talked about Optimism's growth the other day. They had record transactions. Arbitrum's growing very, very nicely as well. They've got their Odyssey program starting up soon, or already started, I believe. It's either starting very soon or already started, right? And all the other L2s are seeing great growth as well. Obviously, the other ecosystems, spinning up, investing money, all well and good. I'm not worried about that. They're growing very nicely. And obviously, we have the token wars going to be heating up soon, with OP dropping sometime in the near future, and other tokens as well. Dank sharding progressing. A lot of great stuff happening on the dank sharding side. I mentioned the live stream that's happening. Today, I think, today, at Bankless, with an all-star panel, and also now that I remember, I'm doing a live stream with David Hoffman tomorrow or today? No, today for the US, tomorrow for me, depending on when you're watching this, and that'll be on Bankless as well. But you guys will see that. I'll kind of like post it in the Discord channel. But yeah, the Dank Sharding is making really great progress. Public goods are being funded. They're being, there's more funding going into public goods than there ever has been. And speaking of that as well, today's newsletter, Daily Gwei newsletter, is actually a guest piece from Trent Van Epps, the person who's pioneering or kind of like leading the charge on the Protocol Guild, a new public goods funding initiative. So if you want to learn about the Protocol Guild and have links to all the relevant resources, definitely check out today's Daily Gwei newsletter. It'll be linked in the YouTube description below. We've burned 2.3 million ETH. I mean, that's just going to keep chugging along. A lot of ETH. Thanks to all the people kind of like trading NFTs, doing all the degen stuff. You're burning a lot of ETH. We thank you for your sacrifice. 12.5 million ETH staked and growing. I haven't checked kind of like the Beacon Chain validator queue recently, but it's come down a little bit, but it's still at 16,000. So we have almost 400,000 active validators. We have 376,000, 400,000 soon. That's growing. More and more ETH getting staked. All well and good. And finally, ETH is on sale. To me, ETH is on sale. I know that I've said that ETH can go lower. It can, guys. Like, I don't rule out anything in this market. But the fact that I was able to buy ETH under $2,000 again, like, I was actually pretty surprised. I didn't think ETH would go under $2,000, but I think the Terra collapse exacerbated the price moves and got us to that point. Can it go back there? Yes. Do I expect it to go back there? No idea, because I don't speculate in the short to medium term. Do I expect ETH to be much higher in the long term? Obviously, right? So to me, ETH is on sale. I bought my large chunk when it went to 1,700, and I'm trying to buy as much as I can going forward here, but I've used up a lot of my ammo so far, so I got to wait. I got to build up some more kind of like fiat and stable coins again there. But yeah, I just, to me, ETH is on sale, so I'm obviously very happy about that, and that's why I am focused. I'm flourishing. I'm in my lane. Like, seriously, guys, I know it's a meme, but like, I am so convicted on Ethereum. I'm so bullish on Ethereum, more than I ever have been, and I'm just so excited for the future. Like, I think I finally accepted the fact that I'm fine with being called an ETH maxi now. Like, I'm just going to embrace it at this point. If being called an ETH maxi means that like all the things that I say, or not all of them, but like most of the things that I say end up coming to fruition, then so be it. I don't care anymore, to be honest. Like, I am doing so well personally in my personal life. Not just on kind of like the money side. I don't even really care about that, but on the kind of like personal growth side, I'm still having so much fun. I'm learning so much. The Daily Gwei community seems to be growing really nicely. We're having so many good conversations in the Discord channel. It's just such an exciting time in my life right now. So I don't even care. Call me an ETH maxi. Call me whatever you want. I'm unbothered, as I said in this meme here. And I hope you guys are too. Like, I really hope you guys are having as much fun as I am, because it's all well and good for me to be having fun, but it's even better when I get to share that fun with other people. And as I said plenty of times, if you haven't joined the Discord channel yet, please do so. I'm waking up in the morning and I can't even keep up with everything anymore. It's so awesome. There's so many messages going on in there. So many smart people kind of like joining, having great discussions, so many people learning from each other. I am just like blown away by the quality of the discussions in there. So definitely check it out and join if you haven't yet. That'll be there for you. But yeah, I think that's going to be it on that tweet. Finally, before I kind of like end out today's episode, just wanted to give a quick shout out to a podcast that Hasufl did with Tim Beiko. And this is a mega episode, and this is only part one, about Ethereum's transition to proof of stake. So in this episode, they discussed how consensus works in proof of work versus proof of stake, the long road to proof of stake, client modularity, and how to test for such a massive event as the merge. As I said, this is only part one. I'm sure part two will be out soon. But yeah, if you want kind of like the 0 to 1 on kind of like the merge and on everything surrounding it, this is a must listen. I haven't listened to it yet. Like, I've been trying to find time to listen to it, hopefully soon. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a good episode with kind of like Hasufl and Tim Beiko here. So definitely check it out. I'll link it in the YouTube description. But that's going to be it for today. So thank everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all next week. Thanks, everyone.